and going to pass off to Brad Gerard with Families Together, the Chase program.
Awesome. Thanks, Robert. And thanks, Telehealth Rocks and Christy and everyone for putting this together. You guys have been such great partners, and we really love being linked up with you all. And it's nice to see Sandy and Michelle. We got to meet one time a while back, and you guys do such great work. So thanks for sharing. So yeah, the Chase program is been going for 4 years. It's a program under Families Together, and Families Together, if you don't know, is the federally designated PTI or Parent Training Information Center across the state of Kansas. And we serve families with family members or children with disabilities, or sometimes the people we serve have disabilities themselves. And the Chase program was an interesting origin story because the Johnson County Department of Corrections had showed up to one of our education advocate trainings and kind of realized, hey, we're getting people into our justice system here in Johnson County, and sometimes they have an IEP or sometimes they need a disability diagnosis, and we don't really have an expert partner there. And so that's how the Chase program really came to be, was the Johnson County Department of Corrections looking for a partner in the disability world. And so they came to Families Together, started the Chase program back in 2020. Next slide, please. And it's been an interesting few years because Robert and Telehealth Rocks have helped us evolve this work to Fort Scott, but originally it was just in Johnson County, and providing that assistance to families of adolescents and young adults who have those IEPs and 504s. It's a little bit different now in Fort Scott because you don't actually have to have a disability diagnosis to qualify for the program. So we're kind of in this experimental phase of the program, which has been really fun to watch it grow. But yeah, that's how it started, was in Johnson County, serving just justice-involved youth who have a disability or who need a disability diagnosis. Next slide, please. I see Robert giving Destry Brown the credit. It's true. So this is our wonderful team. Leah Holly, who's not on this call. I believe Natalie is on this call, and she's new to the team, and Jordan. But yeah, I mean, we love our team. All these people care so much about the people we work with. And as you know, the team is everything. The people are everything. Leah's been with the organization for 25 years or so, and she has children with disabilities, and one of which was justice involved. So the parents being able to connect with her is a really huge deal. Next slide, please. So what is it that we do in the Chase program? I like to say that the Chase program has three main pillars. The first one is going to be educational support. The second is the youth one-on-one support. And then third are the pro-social community events that we run. So we can dig into each of these a little bit, but that educational support piece was the foundation of the program since the very beginning. And that is, hey, there's a child who is possibly justice involved, who might need a disability diagnosis. Maybe they have already been diagnosed. Maybe they were in a detention center and they're trying to reintegrate back into school, and the IEP hasn't been looked at for a year or two. And so we're a part of those supportive conversations with the parents and the guardians. We actually attend those meetings with the school, and we just serve as their support team. So the parents and the families are always leading the charge. But if they have questions, if they need help clarifying, maybe even like mocking up an email or something to send to the schools, we help with all kinds of stuff regarding the educational support to make sure the youth is getting what they need while they're at school. Secondly, we do one-on-one support with the youth, which has been probably the main growth area over the last couple of years, because we realized that the families love and need the support, and they're like, heck yes, they're trying to manage their own lives, their day jobs. Now they've got court dates and they've got IEP meetings. There's a lot going on, and so the guardians are like, yes, we need your help. The youth, maybe not so much. They think, well, what's in it for us? So we started to really dig in and say, how do we engage with these youth in ways that is exciting and meaningful? And so I'm excited to share about some of those. And then lastly, we know post-COVID and even pre-COVID, there was a lot of feelings of isolation. And so we focus a lot on pro-social events. Sometimes those events have a direct outcome. Sometimes it's just to hang out and let our hair down a little bit so that they know the people on the other side of the screen. And I'm excited to share more of some examples there. But next slide, please, Christy. So educational support, I chose this picture of this woman here because this is kind of the vibe a lot of times, you know. The executive director of our organization likes to say that you don't call the doctor when you're feeling great. And that's kind of the same thing for us. Unfortunately, you don't get referred to our program. Generally, if things are going amazing, there's kind of some frustrations and some stress there. Luckily, we are here to support you. Next slide. And we do that through going to those IEP and 504 meetings. We've been in a lot of manifestation determination reviews to see if what's going on is specifically related to the disability. We've brainstormed lots of different conversations about alternative settings, if there was like a suspension or expulsion kind of thing happening. And yeah, that is one of the main meat and potatoes. What we do is going to be that educational support there. All right, next slide. So in the TASN trauma responsive training that I'm going through right now, and I know Telehealth Rocks is really big on trauma responsive work as well, one of the biggest indicators for success for someone who has had a traumatic background is having that safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And so that is really what we've tried to bring to the youth work that we do. We want to make sure that they feel like they can open up to us so it's safe. They want to make sure that they can rely on us. You know, this is a stable thing. We're going to see them once a week. We're going to see them once a month at community events in person. They know that we're going to be there for them. And then lastly, we spent a lot of time in the CHASE program just nurturing them, focusing on their strengths, their interests, their passions, you know, putting some gas in their tank, or as Robert likes to say, you know, they've kind of got the baseline needs met sometimes, but they don't have that higher reaching goal to go for, that dream life. And so we kind of have this chase your dream moniker where it's like, what is your dream? You know, and let's work backwards from there to help you figure it out. Next step, or next slide, please. With that, we've developed an 8-week program. These are some of the topics that we focus on. We always start off the program with a conversation about self-talk. And that is because, as we know, a young person struggles with this in general, but especially if you maybe are outcasted by your disability, or maybe you feel like the stigma of being a criminal because you have charges. These are very heavy things on someone. And so we focus a lot on how are we speaking to ourselves in our own minds, and how can we reframe those negative thoughts into positive self-talk. We also focus a lot on gratitude. As we know, anxiety and depression come from focusing on the things that we're lacking in life. And so a lot of times we try to reorient our thoughts to focusing on what we do have, things big and small. And then the fun one at the end, the soul goals, that's, you know, we try to find their spark. So for me, I'm a musician. So my soul goal might be to try to write a song in a week or something like that. And we can share some examples of those. Next slide, please. There's the Chase Your Dreams moniker. One of the ways that we've really been able to tap in with the youth is through our podcast. If you go to the next slide, Christy, we know that there's a lot of time being spent on the phone, and we are like, all right, let's figure out how to innovate around getting through to them on their phone if that's where they're going to be sometimes. So we developed the Chase Your Dreams podcast. It's all 5 to 7 minute long episodes. Each episode has an activity that they can do in tandem with the episode. So for example, in the self-talk one that I mentioned, once they're done listening to that, they write out 3 examples of negative self-talk that they've heard in their minds throughout the course of the week, and then they reframe those. And then if they come back and contribute to the conversation on our next meeting, they can win some gift card money, which is pretty fun. So if you go to the next slide, there's a few quotes, I think. Next slide, please. So these are just some youth quotes along the way. I need to get this updated because we have a lot more, but the youth love the podcast. They love learning from the podcast, and they, of course, love getting the gift card money. And we have a really good relationship with the Department of Corrections in Johnson County. We'll kind of keep them abreast of our goals and stuff with the youth and how they're doing. And sometimes they'll even ante up. So it's been fun. Next slide. We try to take individualized supports approach to each youth. So this just kind of shows a few different examples here. Kylie wanted to be a Navy SEAL. Vinny wanted to run his own car detailing business. For Kylie, for us, that looked like some physical challenges because she was going to be going to boot camp soon. And so her specific soul goal was about setting push-up challenges to get prepared for boot camp. Vinny, we got plugged in with score.org, which is a national organization that helps with things like business plans, because we thought, well, you can't just go and start washing cars in somebody's driveway, you got to think through how this is going to look from a business perspective. So these are just a few examples of soul goals that we've done with the youth. Next slide. Here's another soul goal. Kendall wanted to be a visual artist, and she was having a hard time finding the motivation. So we said, "Hey, what if we did Chase t-shirts?" And so she designed a Chase Graffiti Dude t-shirt, is what she calls it. And we sport these proudly at our community events. And as you can imagine, that validation of, you know, having a hard time working on your passion, now all of a sudden other people in your community want to support you with that goal. And then we actually finish it and we print the t-shirts, and you get to see your friends and your family and people wearing your design out in public is a huge deal for someone that age going through something like that. Okay, next slide. Once a month, we do community events. This was a real fun one here. Brian in the glasses is a friend of mine, and he is someone who unfortunately had a very traumatic upbringing in his life. But Brian took all that pain and he put it into his music, and now he's also someone who has Spotify streams in the millions, and his music is very well known by lots of people. And so once a month, we try to find maybe a location or a person in the community who is someone that the youth can connect with. In this case, Brian came, he played his music, he shared the story behind what the songs mean in between the songs. And we invited the families out, we bought dinner and stuff. So it's just, like I said, it's just to connect. I mean, really at the end of the day in Chase, we're just trying to build connection, and these community events go a long way in doing that. If you go to the next slide, I think there's pictures from various events we've done. This one in the middle with the young man holding the microphone is really cool. That was a collaboration we did with a local production company here called Anxiety and Depression, Just Like You Films. And so we actually had the stars from the film, who are Kansas City families, come out and do a Q&A after premiering the film. And so anyone in our program who has had issues with anxiety and depression could come out, they could watch the film, and then they could actually ask the families direct questions about how they were able to work through that. Next slide. This one is cool because on the left there, that's actually one of our Fort Scott youth. And we did a bowling night, and he was such a good bowler, they gave him a medal. And we did, let's see, some painting, some pumpkins. I was at a bonfire over the fall. So yeah, it's just, you know, we like to have fun in our program, and we like to create connection and create positive memories and give the families, you know, something to look forward to. And that's become a big part of it. Once a month, we'll do these. Okay, next slide. More events. Unlock Your Future. That one was with VR. So that's an example of one that was, I would say, more training oriented. Whereas the bonfire and concerts and stuff, that's usually just more like, hey, let's get together and have a good time. All right, next slide. So I threw in some slides here towards the end about a new kind of offshoot pilot program that we're running in Mill Creek, Olathe, which is an Olathe alternative school right now. It's called JAM, and it's called Just Arts and Music. And this was a unique opportunity that we had to collaborate with Art as Mentorship. Christy, if you go to the next slide. And Art as Mentorship is a Kansas City local organization that supports songwriting with youth. And these are some actually personal friends of mine. Like I mentioned, I'm a musician, and so these are just people that I knew, and we tried to get a grant together. The grant didn't work out, but we decided, hey, what the heck? We've got this school that's really interested in this. Let's try it anyway. And so this is currently happening. We're about 2 weeks out from wrapping it up. And the first 4 weeks of the program, the students write music together. So they sit down, they learn the basics of writing a song. And then weeks 5 through 9, we treat it as if, okay, what if you were in a band? What would you need next? Well, you would need an album cover. So now they have to collaborate on an album cover. They also do merch design. So they'll have a chance to create their own t-shirt, which will get printed up. And they have also, and at the very end, and some of the guys are really excited about this, they're going to do a podcast. And so Friday, actually, this week, we're going to film a podcast. The students are scripting questions where they'll be kind of detailing their experience in the program, talking through what was this actually like to show up to a recording studio and write a song, and what was this like to have to, you know, work through collaborative aspects like, hey, maybe my idea, I love my idea, but someone else loves their idea, and now we have to work together to make one idea happen. Next slide, please. And I know excessive absenteeism is a huge concern. And one of the biggest drivers for making this happen was to see how this would impact attendance. And we don't have the complete data yet because it's not quite over. But just the other day, when we were talking with the principal, he said that without a doubt, this program has increased attendance. And they'll get us that actual data. And I said, can I please get that in all caps for the next time we're going for a grant or something? And he was like, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think, you know, with Chase and with Jam, and we try our best to just build connection, and we try not to overthink it, and we try to let the youth lead the conversation a lot of times. So a lot of the podcast episodes we're getting to do are topics that they chose during our leadership meetings, and we went bowling because that's what they said they wanted to do. And we're trying to get them to school with something exciting like writing a song, something they might do on a weekend with their friends. So we know that there are these core elements of just being a human. We know that we want to feel connected to others, we want to feel like our ideas are heard and validated, but we also know that it's a bit of a moving target to help people, and so we just try to do our best to listen and respond with the programming in that way. Next slide, please. If you keep tracing your dreams, one day you'll catch them. We really do believe that. And I think the next slide has my contact information if anybody's interested in anything we're working on. I will also, before I still got the microphone, I will drop in the chat here. This is a song that we made with the Mill Creek students. So if anybody wants to open that up, you're welcome to. I'll share more of the visual assets and stuff later on as we get them, but this is an actual song that just got made a few weeks ago. So thank you so much.